slightly weird. And then you pivoted into sports marketing and then into luxury fashion, which is a bit of a switch up. From the London 2012 Olympics through to working with Beyoncé's team on the Renaissance tour merch, you've seen it all.
When we announced you as the guest on this live, everyone was really excited about it. Like, not obviously we expected that because that's why we asked you, but
So
we can tell because these are a new thing that we've started to do. Because obviously we have a podcast, but then this is the new thing that we're doing, and people were like, "Oh my god, Beckie Stanion! Oh, Beckie Stanion! Oh, Beckie Stanion!" Yeah, lots of people think they know you. I don't know, or like do know you, but lots of people are like, "Oh yeah," and you're like, "Oh, do you know her?" They're like, "Oh, well, I've heard about them." Yeah.
Okay, well that's kind of terrifying.
No, it's good. And here they are.
Oh yeah, here are all your friends.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's quite.
But it's because you've worked with me for so long in comms and marketing.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, it's just you've got a name.
I've been about a bit. Yeah, that's in lots of different industries, as you said. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. That's no positive reaction.
Wow.
Why don't you start by telling us a bit about yourself and your career so far?
Okay. Gosh, where to start? I mean, it's been about. I'm instantly going to age myself, not just Paris Hilton reference, but
I think you're in safe hands.
I've been working for about just over 20 years in marketing. And as I said, I started off in investment banking, which was something that I just fell into.
Did you study fashion though at uni?
No, I studied, it was kind of a really intellectual degree. It was events management and marketing. At Leeds met some wonderful people there, but before that I went into investment banking and as a PA. And I think, you know what, I actually really cut my teeth there. I think from a grounding perspective, learning to be incredibly organised, juggle multiple things. I was working for 32 traders at one point on a trading floor.
That sounds intense.
It was intense. It was great fun, but it just wasn't me. And then I actually had a managing director there. He was the youngest managing director in investment banking, a guy called Paul Rolls. And he just said to me, like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you in investment banking?" And I was like, "I don't really know." But part of my role was actually arranging. There was kind of two parts to it. One was a lot around understanding who the people I worked for were and what made them tick. And then the other part of it was like arranging events and socials and things like that. And I knew that I really liked, and I was good at understanding people and sort of kind of preempting what it is that they wanted. And then also I really liked the social aspect and organisation and things like that. And so the lovely Paul Rolls said to me, you know, you considered going to university. And I was like, well, I hadn't really, but, you know, maybe I should. And that was it. I went back to uni at the age of 22 and decided to study events management and marketing because I kind of just didn't really also know what else was out there for me.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's something everybody struggles with, right? If you don't know it, you don't know it.
No, I didn't
right?
go to uni because I just couldn't. I was like, I can't choose what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
like I just have no interest in it.
Yeah,
So
I felt like that as quite a non-academic person. I didn't know what I
people were like, oh, you could do fashion design. I was like, I'm not a designer. Like I can't design clothes. And I looked into doing buying, and I was lucky enough to do work experience at the Topshop head office. But I was like, this is so boring. Like it was not what I wanted. I just really struggled. So the fact that you did a bit of work and then went back to uni, I think is a really good idea.
And also, you know, I was the first person in my family to go to university, and I didn't really have people to say, oh, well, have you thought about this? Or, you know, and I'm still a big believer in, you know, I think it's much better nowadays because there's so many more resources for people. You know, the internet wasn't around then.
Careers advisor.
And it was like, you know, when I was younger, it was like you can go and be a PA, you can be a hairdresser, you know, or you could be working
careers advisor as me.
Yeah, they were all trained at the same place, I think. So yeah, it was pretty basic. Anyway, went to uni, had a great time, made some incredible friends, had a lot of fun. I don't really know how I got a degree because I did a lot of partying. I was very, very good at it.
It wasn't events.
Yeah, I mean, it was vocational. I mean, like,
Just embodying.
hands-on experience, quite literally. And then when I graduated, I did know that I had to be quite serious about getting into work.
Yeah.
And I went and interned as an entertainment publicist at Freud's.
Oh my god, yeah.
Have we had this? Did you?
No, we
I feel like everyone's done a stint at
No,
Freud's.
so the company that I used to work for had loads of links with Freud's. It was ITV, it was Emma Green's company.
Oh, yes.
We were opposite. I think we had offices opposite, but there was
On
loads
Mortimer
of...
Street.
Yeah, they kept trying to buy Freud's or something was going on, but yeah.
So I went there and did some amazing stuff. I remember I was like on a set with them. I did CD UK.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Sealy.
Cat Dealey, and worked with Mariah Carey. I spent a week with Mariah Carey, which was mad. Worked with Kanye when he did College Dropout, and I really loved it. But the options were, you could come in as a junior publicist. And it was like, I think about 12 grand a year. And I was like, listen, guys, I don't have a trust fund and I can't live off that.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of heartbreaking, but I was like, you know what, maybe another time. And so off I went, and I ended up working in the London Fashion Week, London Fashion Weekend, and sort of in the events marketing space.
That was a big deal, London Fashion Weekend.
Yeah, it
because
was
it took
pretty
over
big.
from Clothes Show Live, didn't it?
Yeah.
That space.
Yeah, I actually worked on Clothes Show Live when I was at university.
Uni, oh my god!
Yeah.
You would have seen me topping round.
Oh, I mean, I think we were all there, hoping to be spotted as a model. I mean, even though even though I'm literally 5'5" and
you'd always be like
hand model maybe.
Yeah, your mum always used to be like, well, Kate Moss is only short.
I feel like if
Sure.
there's no context for this, so just in case you're watching and you're wondering what this is, the Clothes Show Live used to be an event that was held annually in Birmingham.
At the NEC.
And there was a Clothes Show TV show, and it was absolutely like
Huge.
the gospel
Yeah.
for anybody that was interested in that. And the Clothes Show Live was the only thing that you could go to where you could buy like all these cool brands.
Yeah.
Like I had a NASA t-shirt.
Yes.
That I was like, this is the coolest thing I had, and then that massive NASA bomber jacket, which now would probably be worth a fortune. But on anything that was cool, and there was also like the whole, all of the model agencies would go and they would scout people. But like, essentially, I don't know if anyone ever got scouted, but that was, so everybody that was like a kind of teenager or whoever was swanning around thinking that wherever you went, you'd be
spotted at some
You'd
point.
be spotted.
Like
anything that looks at you, you'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was just like the be all and end all.
Yeah.
London Fashion
gosh.
Weekend took over.
So and then so that was kind of the vibe. And that was working with a lot of luxury brands then who were also showing or had a showcase for buyers to come around. And then I had quite a weird, intervention in my career, which was, and I guess this is to your point earlier about, how have I ended up in sort of different roles. I think some of it's considered and some of it was just luck and kind of serendipitous moments. So in 2007, I think, London won the Olympics, won the bid for the Olympics, 2012. And before that, London had never bid for a major sports event.
I didn't know that.
No, whereas every other city, big city around the world, bids, they put in this whole song and dance about what they can do as a city because it's so beneficial to them, the economic benefit to the city is so huge. Yeah. So they're all sort of scrambling to win it. So we won the Olympics, and then London as a city kind of thought, well, actually, if we got that, and we're going to put all this infrastructure in, we should kind of really bid for some more stuff. And they were putting together like a super team of experts who worked in events, marketing, branding, and I was asked to interview. And it was called the major events team. So it was anyone who would work on bidding for major sports properties or cultural properties to come to London. And it was a bit like, didn't really feel like in my comfort zone, but I was like, it sounds really interesting. Yeah. And I think for me, that's probably the common denominator. If it interests me, if I feel passionate about what it could achieve and I can make a real difference, then that's where I'm going to go to. Anyway, after what can only be described as an apprentice-style interview process, I think I had like 7 interviews.
Wow.
I was appointed, and I was hired at the time by Ken Livingstone because he was the mayor. And then the administration changed and it became Boris. Which was an interesting situation.
Was he involved in it much?
I mean, yes, but I think politically he is very much for himself. So trying to brief him was quite tricky. But what ensued was an incredible opportunity to meet some of the world's biggest sporting properties. So I've worked with the team that brought the NFL to London, the NBA to London, the ATP World Tour Finals, the Rugby World Cup, and I really loved that. I thought it was amazing.
Was there any like real strategy as to what you were supposed to be doing, or was there like were you kind of flying by the seat of your pants with quite a lot of it? Because obviously, if it's like brand new, like quick learn about the NBA, and you're like, like
no, it was very much around like so the city would look at sporting properties that were looking to expand and had saturated their market. So if you think about the NFL and the NBA, I mean, everyone in the States has an NFL team or an NBA team. Where do you go from there, right? So Europe, the UK is the next like best place. And you know, at the start of it, everyone thought we were mad. And what I brought to the table was very much around how do you use the NFL to put London on a world stage, and then how can London support the NFL in its storytelling, its fan building, its fan base, all of that. So there was a great team of people, but it was, you know, it's kind of half public sector, half private.
I was going to say, is it public or private?
And it just wasn't my vibe.
Those meetings must have been.
Yeah, there was some excellent people. Don't get me wrong, but there was also like, you know, I like to just get stuff done.
It's different priorities, isn't it?
But what it did do was open me up to some incredible people and incredible experiences and contacts that I just wouldn't have had before that. So after that, I then sort of looked around. I knew it was time to move on, and I just didn't know where I wanted to go. I really didn't, and I decided to go freelance. And it was the best thing I ever did, really. And I ended up still working with the NFL. I ended up working with UEFA Champions League final. I was the head of promotion there for the city. So that was effectively coordinating everything around London during the final. So everything from a fan festival for like 500,000 people to dinners, to awards, to parties, and then also all of the media buy, all of the advertising, working with UEFA. So that again was an amazing experience, and put me again like in the heart of sport and football, where I kind of.
Were you a fan of football before you ended up working?
I've always loved football. I used to go to football when I was a kid with my uncle and my cousins, much to my dad's distress, because my whole family are Arsenal supporters, and my uncle used to take us to Tottenham. And it was like sacrilege, but I used to love it. And it's quite interesting as a woman working in sport. People are always surprised, particularly men, that you're into football or like you know about sport. They're like, oh, so do you actually like football? And you're like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And you actually know about it. Oh, yeah, okay, sure. So where am I up to now?
So you're just about to join Mission.
Yes, and then thank you.
That's all right.
Yes, a lot to go through.
And we've got questions, so don't worry, but take your time.
Yeah, so then
how did you get the job there at Mission then? Was that
so again, I'd been watching them as an agency, and this is when
it's an interesting point of time for them, wasn't it?
Oh, it was.
They were like
they were just like, you know, Nicola Stevenson was amazing. Like, just watch her vision for the business, and the people there were. I still work with and employ a lot of the people that used to work there. We were just kind of taught in a way that wasn't always the easiest, but really made us strive for excellence. And we all were very clear about what excellent was, because I think sometimes you go into a company and no one's clear on what good looks like, let alone what excellent should be. And I weirdly ended up getting to mission because I was on holiday in Mexico and sat down at a dinner where I was sitting opposite someone and we were the only women at the table. And it was Eva McBride, who a lot of people know. And she said, "Do you know Eva?"
Yeah.
Everybody knows Eva usually. And she was saying, "Oh yeah, I work at Mission." I was like, "Really? I'm intrigued by what they do. I'd love to get in there." And then she set me up an interview, and I started the day after the interview. They hired me on the spot, which was quite funny. And I worked on Battersea Power Station had just been bought by a Malaysian company, and they were going to relaunch it so that they could start selling the property. And they needed a really robust marketing, communications, global strategy and plan. And so we did a huge launch event with Elton John, so random. And then we took the global tour. I think it was 20 cities around the world, 10 of them happening on the same day, and then another 10 happening on the same day. Different languages, different cultures, different countries, different time zones.
Wow. All like, do you want to buy a bit of Battersea Power Station?
Yes, but it was more around like the story. Yeah, like, do you want a flat?
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked. I mean, we did a gig in New York with Sting, and like it was.
How much did you spend?
Oh, crazy
That's
money.
insane.
Sting and Elton John.
Yeah.
Million amount.
You know, I mean, that's all the only people I hang out with. So it was. That was a kind of big project, but also there I worked on Tiffany. I worked with Amazon. I worked with, who else did I work with? Gosh, there was loads.
You have to pick the drinks brands.
Oh,
Victoria's
lots of
Secret.
drinks brands. Victoria's Secret, Moet Chandon, Hennessy, all of those, Corona, Peroni, like there was so many. It's kind of too many to mention, really.
How many projects would you have running in one go?
Oh gosh,
Too many.
At one point, I had about 13 clients,
Whoa,
which obviously they all thought I only had one. But yeah, it was, it was tough, and I think agency life is tough, but it's brilliant as well, and you really learn a lot quickly. It's like that trajectory of learning, and work my way up there. And I was there for 6 years, had 2 kids. And then,
How long did you take off from maternity leave?
The first time I did 9 months, and the second time was a year. I think I realised it was going to be the last one, and I was like, let's just get out of it. But I also moved to the country at that point as well, bought a farm.
So what animals do you have on your farm?
Oh my gosh, it's probably easier to say which ones I don't have.
You got some goats.
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 I did have goats, but
They're naughty, aren't they?
they're very naughty, and they kept getting their horns stuck. And so we couldn't keep them, which was unfortunate. But I've got a litter of piglets at the moment.
That's so nice.
They're very cute.
Yeah.
Pigs, cows, sheep, ducks, hens, and we've got the new addition. It's 2 peacocks.
They're noisy though.
That's what everyone says. They're not very. They won't come out. Yeah, they're very. Oh right, okay. But they're called Beyoncé and Jay-Z.
Of course. Oh no, you can't have Jay-Z now.
Why not?
The scandal.
Oh,
Sorry?
Do we know about? No, it's all still P Diddy. Every 5 minutes, I'm telling Joe about the P Diddy scandal. If you're not on that,
I'm on it.
TikTok.
My
right?
TikTok
Jay-Z
algorithm
and P
needs to
Diddy are best
change.
mates, and if him and Kris Jenner are getting called up, Kris Jenner's done one. Jay-Z, all.
Oh, okay. We need to go into this.
Okay, perhaps this isn't time for this chat. But I can't call you Peacock Jay-Z now. You might have to amend it.
Beyonce and Sasha
Kelly
Fierce,
Rowland.
maybe. Oh. It's got to be a man.
Oh.
It's male.
I
don't know.
We'll have to think about that.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
answers?
Anyway, I'm not very farmy. My husband calls me the most reluctant farmer, which I am. But I love
I can't
living on a
believe that
farm.
you've ended up with a farm.
Yeah, it's not really through
But
choice.
is it do you kick around on there every day and you're like,
Yeah.
right, I've got to feed the pigs now, right, I've got to do this? 'Cause I have trouble with 2 children and a husband. I can't imagine like 10 animals on top of that and a cat. Yeah, but like.
Yeah, there's more like 100 animals. My husband does that.
Right.
I do it when I have to. Don't get me wrong, I love living on a farm, but I'm not really a farmer. So yeah. but it's, it's a great existence, that's for sure.
So you had your second little one, moved to the farm, and then had you left, or were you going back again?
No, I'd left. And then I'd been working with Michael Murray, CEO of Fraser's Group, on flannels when I was at Mission.
Right, okay.
And I really also used to work at flannels when I was at university in the store in Leeds. And I was coming back after maternity leave, didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I didn't want to go back to Mission. And Michael said, look, I know you've got a background in sport and in fashion. Would you come and help me with Sports Direct? At which point, I was like, and to that point, I was a bit like, oh, that's interesting. But I was also very aware of the reputation, very aware that it would be like turning an oil tanker to change perception. And also, it was a bit like, this is not really the kind of brand that I want to align myself with, but therein lie the kind of challenge and the excitement.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm up for this. I'm going to do this. And actually, if there's a way to democratise sport and get people healthy, then actually having a store on pretty much every high street, and the only place you can buy a tennis racket on the high street, and a lot of other stuff
At a decent price.
At a decent price, yes. Then surely there's something in that. And so I jumped in, and 2 months after being in the office, we went into lockdown, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've actually got to go home and look after my own children again. But it was, I was kind of, mentally, I was so ready to go back to work. And then, I sort of was loving being back in that environment. And then I was like, okay, back at home, which was obviously a really odd time for everybody. But what it allowed the business to do, and it allowed me to do, was for them to take a step back and go, right, what do we really need as a business? I mean, every business is reassessing themselves, right? But I was the first proper marketing person they brought in. I heard before that there was somebody who shall remain nameless, who used to have a catalogue, and that was the marketing. Anyway, it shall stay there. It was an amazing time, because it was like walking into a startup that had an abundance of money to spend, and really it was all for the taking. And so I sort of cherry picked. I did cherry pick a team of people during lockdown that I interviewed over Zoom. A lot of people I didn't meet until after lockdown, but spoke to them like multiple times a day. And we really unearthed what it was that Sports Direct should be and wanted to be. And from that, everything followed. And we won. It's not about winning awards, but it is really nice when you get them. No, but like I've never entered an award, but it felt great to actually be recognised in that. We won the best creative campaign globally. We won a Clio Award for our Just a Game Euros campaign. When I started, a brand who shall remain nameless wouldn't take a meeting with me because they just didn't want to work with us, to the point that they ended up investing all of their sort of marketing budget with us and their best talent. And that I think that's real testament to the work and the trust that we built. Sports Direct, but it wasn't just that. We did a whole host of things which were really meaningful, because you can change a logo, you can do some nice campaigns, but if you actually don't stand by what you're saying you're going to do, then it's a bit vacuous. So it was everything from launching Equal Play, which was about supporting women in sport, helping Zoe Smith, the GB weightlifter, actually get to the Olympics. Can you imagine if you're like that brilliant and then you can't actually afford to go? Crazy. Sponsoring Forest Green Rovers, female football team, most sustainable football team, working with Ramla Ali and her sisters club,
She's so cool.
Yeah, and then working with, you know, like launching a campaign called Fast and Slow, which was about how to train during Ramadan. You know, and like really understanding who the consumer is and going, well, who are we actually trying to talk to? Because it's not just, you know, blokes. It's actually like a lot of the time it's parents or mothers who wouldn't consider it's for them, but actually shop for everybody. And how are we going to lead with her and support with him, supported by him, and all of that. So it was there was like a real amazing time. And I think anyone who worked during that time in that team knows it. We were like, that was excellent, and we achieved so much. And then Michael said to me, look, would you become group CMO and work on flannels, as well as taking on the rest of the estate? And obviously I knew flannels because I'd worked there. And I think it's fair to say it was very confused about who it was trying to be, who it was trying to talk to, who the consumer was.
Was it still quite northern at the time?
Yeah, I mean...
Had you got the space in Oxford Street?
Yes, we had. But I think, again, that was a challenging space. Because of distribution and stuff like that. So, and so we started on a journey of, you know, re-establishing what the brand is, understanding who it is, who's the consumer and who we're trying to serve and how we're going to serve them. And then doing things that actually make people take notice and actually make people give a shit. And, you know, I think previously it had quite a functional nature to it. And I think when people are, you know, spending large amounts of cash, they want to feel some affinity towards the brand. And so that was everything. We tore up everything from, you know, socials, we deleted everything, to website, to all of our creative, to the creative council that we work with, to the brands that we supported, and then London. We were like, what do we do? How do we make London this kind of hub of activity? And we called it the new luxury playground. And it was like, what would our consumers want to see? And so that was, you know,
every time I've walked past it, because we often work in Dean Street, every time I walk past it, there's always been something kind of going on, something interesting. And like your friend Nova went to a couple of events there. I think you always like hosting kind of interesting events. Tell us how the Renaissance tour merch stuff came about.
So wow, I mean, that was pretty big. It was I think it was like this time last year, because I think it was the Easter holidays, and we were all away. Like a lot of the like core team were away for Easter break, and we all had to get on this call. I had a message saying, "Listen, you need to sign an NDA." It came via Carmen, who's the head of talent and PR, group head of talent and PR, and through one of her contacts. And we were like, okay, who's this company? So we all had to sign NDAs. And then what evolved was an incredibly tight relationship that we built very quickly between ourselves and Parkwood, who are a great team to work with. And then it was about Beyoncé wanted to create a retail environment linked to her Renaissance tour. And that was what we pulled together. Very, very, I think in the space of 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
It was round the clock, and you know, and it was great. It really, really was.
Yeah, we went to the gig, didn't we? It was like amazing.
So
But like
good.
you having a panic attack because we were up in the guards, we wouldn't have been any higher up. I was like, I was like, mate, I didn't hold it together.
I didn't have
She did.
I
We had
didn't.
2
I
people,
literally didn't.
gin and tonics like that, and then we went business apart and bought loads of merch, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
I took my daughter, and she was like, she's just like the biggest.
From that gig though, like, oh my god.
Oh, I did a little shifty one and booked a cab into the Sainsbury's below. And left 10 minutes early, but I had to lie to my daughter that it was about to end, but we missed Renee the horse coming out.
Yeah.
So I was like, they're not doing it tonight. I was like, run.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
I
that
ended
was.
up stuck in a pub in Tottenham until
I mean,
about 3 in the morning.
There's worse places to be.
It was fine.
It was
fine.
But yeah, I mean, and it went so well that you know they asked to do work with us again in the same year to support the film. So yeah, it was
So that's pretty outstanding because she's like insanely picky, which she should be, because I remember doing some work for her when she had Ivy Park first launching, and
I just think they want excellence, and I think that's, true testament to the team that worked on it. It was an incredibly small team. We couldn't really we couldn't talk about it, and everybody just put everything into it, and it was, it was excellent. It was great.
Amazing.
Good team.
Yes.
Should we
Do some questions?
Yeah. Have we had anything coming in just in case?
Yes. So, what brands do you feel are smashing it right now?
Loewe. I say that, I'm looking at that.
Influencers, right?
Yeah, if you want any,
Joe's wearing it.
Loewe, they just get it so spot on. Actually, a friend of mine did all the set design on the latest campaign, and art direction, and it's just like so good. Like, it's so memorable, it's so different.
Yeah.
The products are so great. I just love the way they cast. I think it's awesome, like really, really awesome. I think On are killing it. I think they're really dominating in the running space.
They've got their own store now, just down the road. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Yes.
What do you wear to work out in?
All different. Depends what I'm doing.
You're running.
I don't run.
No.
Lifting.
I will probably wear Nike and a bit of Under Armour.
Okay.
You're
yogaing.
Yogaing, I will wear Aloe
Okay.
or Lulu.
Aloe does not fit me.
Does it not?
And when I had it shipped over Black Friday, I was like,
Yeah.
nothing fit. I was like, never mind, I'll send it back. I had to pay to ship it back to Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aloe.
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 To ship it back to Las Vegas. And they were like, oh yeah, sorry, we don't have any. We don't have any. I had to pay £50 to ship back a load of leggings that I felt fat in and they were really shiny.
Oh no. I love a bit of Aloe.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Lulu.
Lulu, I love.
I need to
Yeah.
be more adventurous with my gym wear because I just wear black Lululemon and that is it. So maybe I need to be.
Yeah, but you actually do stuff in the gym all the time. Like
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So I
actually-
just go in and go like, oh, I'm doing my gym thing for this month, and then that's it. So I've still got a pair of leggings from when I've still got a pair of Lululemon leggings.
You've still got the flared leggings from when they were in the first
For the
time.
first time round.
I tell you what else I
First time
think's
round.
killing it. I think Refire killing it.
Oh,
I
right.
really do. I just think
Fire's
what
great.
Jess and Jenna are doing, the product's amazing, but the way that they're just building that community really organically, I think it's genius.
Yeah,
I really
it's really
do.
clever. We saw something today, didn't we, about that new product that they can't talk about, but they did did
Oh,
you see that?
Yeah,
They were just filming
It's great.
people reacting to the product, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I know. What is it? Let's get our hands on it.
I don't know. What is it? A peg?
It's what the facelift.
I'm going to ask a question then. You've made the transition from an agency into a 360 CMO role, which is a lot of things that we get asked about as talent agents, about how to make that transition.
Yeah.
Have you any advice for those people wanting to do that with their careers?
I think it's just about the person that you are, right? Because I like to be busy and work in a varied environment, and I think agency life gives you that. And I ended up going into a role that was functioned very much like an agency because it's a multi-brand retailer, so I was working with so many different brands that I like to consider like my clients or my partners. So for me, it wasn't a difficult segue. I found that quite easy. I think if I'd gone into maybe like one brand off the back of being it's so varied, I think I might have found that quite difficult.
But now you can distill that down, I suppose, now that you've experienced
Oh,
it.
totally. Yeah, totally. I think I'd be ready to do that now. But I think it is different. But I think I always like to hire people who are ex-agency because I think they are used to doing whatever it takes to get the job done well.
Yeah.
Because I think that I always liked it to like somebody's going to come and take you dinner unless you're like protecting it and doing it the best.
Yeah.
And I also like people who can juggle things and are not just very like purist like we need to only think this way. Let's think about different things and work out how that could come together.
That segues into another question I had, which is, when you're hiring, what do you look for in people?
Oh, I've got 4 things.
Oh,
Yes, and I say this to people in interviews, which is like,
So tell them what you're looking for.
yeah, and like one is like, you've got to be great at your job. That's kind of, well, actually that's not one of the 4. I just expect like you to be brilliant at your job, right?
Yeah.
But the other things are probably considered more softer things, but I don't think they are. I think they're just incredibly important. I've got to try and remember them now. The first one is, there must be a better way. So if you don't think you've landed it, or you don't think it's quite working, or even if it is there a better way? And there must be a better way if you can't work it out. Have a sense of humour, like truly, because it is sometimes, you know, when it's like midnight and things are going wrong and, you know, you're all a bit stressed, actually laughing about things is the best remedy. Not like inappropriately, but actually just having a proper sense of humour. Like, because things do go wrong, shit happens, and like, it's not that deep.
Have a massive sense of humour, because our commodity is people.
Right.
And people have
their
own independent lives and things coming up.
And they can say no.
Or they have their own personalities and things go to itself.
Or they change their minds.
Or they clients are people, and everybody changes their mind constantly. And it's hard work. So sense of humour.
Sense of humour, kindness. Like, for me, there's just no reason for anybody to be a dick. Like,
we have a don't
like, be kind.
Yeah.
There's just no need for nastiness or like snippiness, you know. Once I did actually let someone go on set because they were so rude to somebody. I overheard them being rude to somebody, and I was just like, no, because the minute that shit happens,
then you don't deal with it.
People think that might be acceptable, or it tarnishes everybody else, and it tarnishes everybody else's hard work.
I think moodiness as well. Like, moodiness for me is a real thing that I get annoyed about.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who's just started working somewhere, and she's inherited a team where one of the people was just so moody and would be like, and she's like, I'm your boss. What are you doing? And it's just like, how, like, it's so.
Get over yourself.
Get over yourself.
So what did I say? Sense of humour, kindness, team player, like somebody who will celebrate the wins with you, but also share the losses. And I really think, you know, I used to try and emulate this in my team, like where I had like 12 heads of. It was like, if there was an issue, it's not your issue, it's our issue to resolve. Like, as a team, let's not point fingers. Let's just say, listen, this has happened. How are we going to resolve it? I'm not interested in like dwelling on the problem. I'm interested in actually solving it and whatever that means between us, and like supporting one another. So I think that's really important, because everyone can crack a bottle of champagne open when everything's great, but who are the people actually rolling their sleeves up and going like, right, how do we solve this? How do we fix this? I wasn't actually anywhere near it, but I want to help fix it. I think that's really important.
I was talking to my friend at a party the other week about this, and he said, you know, your experience is your experience, up to date, but when I'm looking at people to hire, I'm trying to figure out what my questions are about. Like, are you gonna throw your team under the bus when things get heavy, or are you gonna be the person that absorbs for your team and then can direct backwards? Because actually what you need is somebody that's just a real team player and lead from the front. And he's not so bothered about the person's experience beforehand, because that's on their CV. And
exactly.
You know, that you can refer to somebody else for. Exactly.
And then once, I think the final one is, and this came from an old CEO that I worked with, and he said, I was umming and ahhing about somebody, whether I should hire them. I was like, their experience is great. Like, they're really nice. Like, there's just something. And he was like, if you can't sit on a plane with them for 8 hours, don't hire them. And I was like, what? And he was like, think about sitting on a plane with them for 8 hours. And I did hire
if you can't travel with them, because we spoke to one of our clients the other day that was looking for like an ops person. He was like, they're really good, but I think they're really annoying. And I'm like, you can't hire them.
No. Anyone that grates is not gonna.
Like, if they're rating meow and they're trying to impress you, what are they going to be like when they're having a bad day?
And I just think, you know, like, championing one another. I think when people don't do that, I think it comes from a place of insecurity, that people don't feel secure in themselves enough to like say, this was so and so, they did an excellent job, or you know what, like this person is great, you should talk to them, or they're the person responsible for this excellent piece of work.
I wonder if some of your sports football-y stuff has rubbed off on you as well with that, because the attitude that you are displaying, kind of talking about this in, is very much team player sport. Like it's much more sporty than it is fashion, because fashion is a bit like, well, she said, la la la, you know, it's not as friendly. You're coming at this with much more of a, come on, we can all do this collectively.
I just don't. I don't buy into the naysayers.
No,
you know, I never have done, and I think you have to just be really like, like we can do it. It's like it's not that. We're not splitting the atom. I always say that, like it's not rocket science. We can work this out, but let's do it together as a team. And I think, you know, you're right. It definitely comes from playing team sports as a young person.
If I was joining your team, I would be like, oh my god, okay, great. I've got like a leader and a mentor here, which leads me on to my next question. Do you have a mentor or coach?
I do. I have a coach.
And
I also mentor, which I get a lot from. My professional coach is a woman called Rachel Reevely. She's amazing.
She's going to be our next person. She's watching this now. She's our next person.
Hi, Rachel.
As part of our outro, we're talking about Rachel Reevely.
Oh my god.
How funny is that?
There you go.
I didn't tell her I was doing this today.
Oh, she's on the list of attendees. We can see you all.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, if you're there, Rachel, hi.
Attendees, well, that's interesting. There you go. And if you want some free coaching, she's going to be on our list.
She's great. She's just great. Like I can't wax lyrical about her enough. I just think, you know.
When did you decide to get a coach? Because some people I know feel like if they get a coach, they feel like they're failing. Because they're like, oh no, I know how to do everything. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he was like, no, I really introspected anyway, so I don't think I need a coach because. And I'm like, I think you do, because if you're introspective, you're not like analysing yourself, and even if you're hyper self-aware, you still need someone to like put things in boxes and create channels to make success for you.
I think again that probably comes down to like my fitness and sport and stuff like that, is that I just know I want someone to coach me. Because I'm a better version of myself when I do that.
And also just somebody that I think like that can make you think differently about certain things. Or like take a problem you have and spin it in a different direction.
Totally. I think as well, it's like I, you know, as a woman at C-suite level, it was quite difficult. My friends weren't necessarily at that level professionally. And so I went through a phase where I was finding it quite difficult to navigate certain things.
It's a loner.
And like just bounce things off people and have in confidence as well. And to do it with somebody who had that experience. And what I love about Rachel is many things, but I hope she won't mind me saying this, but there's like a 10-year age difference. And so we've both got kids that would be the same. Her kids are like the age my kids will be then. And so, you know, she's got a great wealth of experience, professional experience, but also life experience. And so there's things that, you know, I don't have to explain to her how tricky it is, you know, navigating motherhood and working an 80-hour week and traveling and what have you. She just gets it. And so there's a very kind of shortcut conversation between us. But also just when I need to bounce things off somebody, so, have you thought about it that way? And I'm like, oh no, I hasn't, but that's a really good idea, you know?
Having someone spin a different thought pattern to you just completely sorts me out, because like we are a small team, and Jo and I are not only like business partners but best friends, so we don't have
it's
any,
like one brain, isn't it? Like,
so like I completely trust everything, but we don't have any like outside thinking. And sometimes we're like so it's really helpful for us to have a coach who's like, hey guys, because we're like Siamese twins, but like we're all thinking the same thing,
same husband.
That's how it is. So no, it's great to have someone like to split it all out and to be like, you're really good at this, you're really
Yeah.
good at this, let's do this. Because same husband. Did you see that?
That was on
Don't.
That's what I was thinking of.
Don't.
No,
I
do you see
can't.
the woman that gets like, she puts her headphones, she's a Siamese twin, she gets her headphones.
Don't.
Puts her
I
headphones in.
can't. It's too
Don't
much.
even, mate.
Don't,
Like-
because my mind is like going somewhere really
Is that where
weird.
you would get what one there?
That's where I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
How
Anyway,
cool is that?
Wow.
Sorry. Have we got any more questions that have come in? Because if not, while you're having a look, I could ask you, what's the best moment of your career until, like, this can be it, if you want it to be.
Today, right now.
Today.
Yeah, today, right this second.
Talking about Simon's
Never mind about meeting Beyonce. This, yeah?
I think the Beyonce piece was a highlight for sure, but I actually think it was in it would have been August 2020. So we were still in lockdown, and I was decided that we were going to do Sports Direct's first ever Christmas campaign. And how we pulled it off, I don't know. We had over 200 cast, 200 crew, and it was like you had to test everybody for COVID, morning and evening. And somehow we did it, and we pulled it off, and it was brilliant. We did it with Matt Bolton, absolute genius. He's like my creative brain, I think. And yeah, it was wild. Tony Blaze did styling. We had there was just people everywhere, and it was at the moment where it was COVID, no one was supposed to be anywhere near one another. But it was all done to the production limitations. And what we pulled off was brilliant, and no one expected it from us.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that opened the floodgates. I.e., all the sports brands were like, "We want to talk to you, and we want to put this athlete with you, and we want to do this with you, and we want to do that with you." And it was I knew I had to do something bold. And I'm a big believer in poking the wasp's nest or throwing a grenade into it. For the best. It's always mitigated
See what
though.
happens.
Mitigated risk, but it was probably that. Because I couldn't believe we pulled it off, and it was an amazing achievement, and creatively it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that.
Oh god, it must have been so nice to be next to people. Do you remember when we were all darting about?
Yeah.
Oh, god.
Cutting each other's hair in the garden.
Yeah, Joe, that's what we were cutting each other's hair in the garden. Joe would cycle every morning. I'd give her a Friday sandwich, and then she'd be like, "My hair's awful." I'd be like, "Don't worry, I'll cut it." And then she'd do the same for me.
We all went mad, didn't we? I mean, it was just
I was like the
bizarre.
happiest I've ever been. No, I wasn't at all. I was mental. Okay, and so hang on. Have we got any more questions on our little list? I'm going to skip through. We've got one here. Hang on.
Yeah, so what are your top tips for people starting a career in marketing?
Oh,
In
top
this day and
tip.
age, right now.
Right.
This day and age, gosh, that's a good one. I think you've got to try and get good work experience. It's also just having the media landscape is changing so significantly, right? And marketing is such a broad term. When I started, it was emails.
Newspaper adverts.
It was newspaper adverts, emails, billboards, TV
There's all about
adverts.
PR as well.
And loads about PR.
Yeah.
I remember when social media came out, and I was trying to hire for a social media person, and I was a bit how do we even do this?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
So I think having a good understanding of the social media landscape is really important.
Yeah.
But also, I think people who study psychology and things like that, the understanding, I think for me, inherently, is about understanding people and trying to understand what makes people tick and what is memorable and what is that water cooler moment that you can create, that people talk about and people care about. There's only so much in terms of marketing you can roll it in glitter. It's got to be a good product, it's got to be a good story, and you've got to be the driving force behind that. So I think experience-wise, getting a good education doesn't necessarily have to be in marketing, but then working out who are the brands, who are the agencies doing really great stuff, and then going in there and getting your hands dirty, really, because there's so many different facets to it. It's all about content now, but you've also got to have a really good understanding of how to influence a consumer in a way that will make them act. And that's fundamentally what it all comes down to.
What stood out for you when you've received applications from junior people coming into the workplace?
I think people who've done work experience. You know, like some people can have the best degrees in the world, but actually, if they've not got an ounce of experience or like, you know, not done anything to put themselves out there, they just don't stand out.
And with like CVs and things like that, is there anything that you like in terms of even the aesthetics or like people's LinkedIn's, like what is it that makes people stand out for you? Because people try really hard now to make a whole personal branding exercise and can, I feel, pour a lot of effort into that, and maybe it's not that necessary, it's more about kind of, but then you're in amongst lots of other people. Is there anything that you would suggest
I
to do?
think it's about being honest about what is important to you as an individual. So, you know, if you want to work in fashion or if you want to work in sport, and you know, I'm a bit of a unicorn. I'm not a unicorn now, but I had an experience of sport and luxury, and now the two have come so close together. But you know, they're two things that I'm really passionate about, I'm really interested in, and so, you know, even putting together my own CV, I try and make sure that comes through, and that is, you know, emulated in the way I present myself. You know, I think a really strong covering letter goes a long way.
Do you?
I do.
Because they get ditched by so many people. Like we get covering letters coming through to us, and it's just the longer the thing, the less people read.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think short and snappy. Like just like something that you can. It kind of the way that it comes across in terms of your personal brand, I guess, because I feel like a CV can be quite unemotional. It should be unemotional, right? It's about your experience, but actually in an opening email or a letter to somebody, not a letter, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
Just something
you know, just something a little bit punchy and a little bit, you know.
Personality driven.
Yeah.
I think.
Whoa.
My real plant.
That was
real
that was a mum save.
I'm going to wrap up in a minute, guys.
Yeah.
It's nearly 3:00.
Wow, gosh.
No, that's cracking. Shall I? I'm going to do our outro. Jo and I were going to do a special wink when we needed to wind up, but I haven't done a special wink. But Becky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well, I don't get a special wink now.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, it's been a real pleasure. And I should take a second here to say thank you to the team. Thank you, team. And also thank you so much to our audience for joining us. If you enjoy this content that we are making here, then we also have a LinkedIn page full of articles and stuff. We have a TikTok, which has the dog on it, as well as useful stuff.
Who's in here?
Yeah, we haven't got her here today. And our Instagram as well. And then we have our podcast as well, which has many kind of quite useful stuff. It's on Apple and Spotify. It's called The Atelier. One of my favourite episodes on there is probably an interview with Alex Goat. Do you know her? She's the CEO of Liberty. It's a youth marketing agency. And she talks to us about how she keeps connected to the work that she's doing, even though she's aging out of it because it's a youth business. That's an adult. And she's an adult, there we go.
Come and join us next time when we'll be talking to Rachel Reevely, who we mentioned before. And in the meantime, if you want to get in touch, then please find us on LinkedIn or email us at hello@talentatelier.com.
See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.